We are surrounded by plains and just one grass, and it is here that I'm going to spend 100 days. Starting from scratch with just a scythe and a cart, we will try to build our own farm with a lot of new equipment. Now let's do it. On the first day, I had nothing left but to simply take a scythe in my hands and go mow the grass because we are absolutely on an empty map. Now we have three main tasks: to build a primary base, create the first field, and start raising animals. These are the main goals for the coming days. But first, we needed to figure out how much this grass could be worth. So I mowed a little and immediately decided to sell some bundles of grass. The result was not bad. We earned $83. So I decided to keep mowing until I earned enough to rent some equipment. After earning a minimum of $237, I decided to go to the store to see what I could afford. The selection was terribly limited, and that amount of money barely covered anything, not even the simplest lawnmower. This means we need to keep working, and soon we'll be able to afford it. After mowing another small area, I realized carrying the grass with a shovel was too far, so I decided to load all the grass into a cart. I think this process will be much faster that way. Once it was fully loaded, I took the grass to sell. We had already earned over $200 with it. It's just wonderful. After selling the remaining mowed grass, our balance exceeded $500. I think now we can try renting a lawnmower, and luckily, this time we had enough for it. The tool cost us $300, but it will greatly simplify the process of making money, as fortunately, there's already a compartment for grass here that holds 1,200 liters of mowed grass. Honestly, it was hard work, but now there's no turning back because I want to earn enough for some equipment. After some time, I mowed a fairly large area of grass, and our balance exceeded $1,500. I think now we can think about new equipment. First and foremost, we'll need some kind of tractor. We'll choose, of course, based on price, so this little one will do just fine. Along with it, I would like to rent a trailer with a collector. With the remaining money, we'll get a hay mower. In the end, we spent over $1,000 on this equipment. I hope it pays off. Right now, our first task is to mow some more grass. It's already pleasing that we have fast and good equipment. So when the new area of grass was mowed, I easily started collecting it. And here too, there are only advantages. The collection speed has become much higher, and the volume of collected grass has also increased. We could fit 13 cubic meters of grass in one trailer, which is a very good result. And right now we're selling all this grass, for which we get almost $2,000. Wow, that's nice. But it's still not enough to implement our plans. So without further ado, we continue working. 4 hours later, our balance exceeded $11,000. This money would be enough for us to continue developing our farm. But before that, we needed to return all the leased equipment. Once I did that, I packed up all of our tools and went to choose a location for our farm's foundation. I decided to build it not too far away so as to spend as little time on trips as possible. Any farm should start with building a house. Since we didn't have much money, the first thing we would build is a tent. It cost us $500. Next, I purchased a shovel and tools for planting trees. After that, I needed to go to the store and buy some seedlings. Fortunately, our budget allowed us to buy almost the largest pallet, so we confidently acquired it. Dragging it to our farm, I was ready to plant trees. So, let's take the shovel and get to work. After planting all 40 trees, all we had to do was wait for them to grow and bring in a good income. After some time, our trees finally grew, and it was time to sell them. But I didn't even have a chainsaw. So I went to the store to buy one, and now that I have it, I start cutting wood. Unfortunately, I had to carry all of this by hand since we don't have money for the necessary equipment yet. But it's okay. I think we'll manage, especially since I managed to drag a whole tree in half an hour and sold it for $14,000. And now we can talk about equipment. After all, we already have enough money to rent something. Well, the choice fell on a small John Deere, to which I also took a front loader and a small trailer for logs. With this equipment, I went on to prepare more wood for sale. As I expected, our tractor was too light for large logs, and I needed to buy a counterweight. I decided to get no less than 2 tons to lift absolutely all the logs. And now, everything was ready to deal with wood. Fortunately, the whole process went much faster. Now 2 trees fit easily into one trailer, for which we earned $29,000. After working all day, I sold all the trees. My balance is over $200,000. Now is the time to start creating at least a basic farm. But first, it was necessary to clear the area of stumps after selling the trees. The next day, I was ready to start creating the first stages of our farm. I decided to start from home, of course, since I don't have too much money. It will be a simple and cozy wooden house. After building my own yard, I began planning the farm. Although calling it a farm is still difficult, it's more like meeting basic needs. So I managed this fairly quickly by building 2 basic hangars for machinery. Also, let's not forget to add decorations like fences and trees. And let's make a road to the store. After that, we move on to the important stage, the industrial zone. For now, I'm going to get several greenhouses. I think that will be enough to generate stable income at first. So here's what we achieved literally in 20 minutes. A nice place to relax, also a nice place for initial machinery, and of course a money generator in the form of greenhouses. Now it's necessary to get the first machinery. It's too early to buy it at this stage. Initially, we needed to choose the first medium-powered tractor. I decided to go with John Deere. It cost $5,000. We might also need a tractor for transporting pallets from the greenhouses for sale. Moving on to implements. Right now, we need a deep tiller to create our first field. Along with it, we'll also immediately take a cultivator. And in the end, we'll definitely rent a planter. So here's all the machinery we rented. That should be enough to start our farm. We gather everything we can and head to the farm. Setting up all the machinery, I realized I didn't have suitable coverings for the planter and cultivator. So in the future, it will be necessary to build those for them. Setting up all the machinery, here's roughly what I managed. Of course, many places are vacant because we don't have most of the machinery. After that, I started production in our greenhouses. We needed to solve the water delivery problem. There were 2 options: either bring water ourselves or install water pumps that would automatically fill the greenhouses. I chose the second option. So next to each greenhouse, a necessary water pump was installed. Then we activate automatic replenishment in each greenhouse and start lettuce production. And there we have it. I think we can take a little break now, because tomorrow we have our first field to create. And don't forget, ahead of us are also the first animals on our farm. Waking up the next day, the weather was amazing. Now we need to decide on the location for our future field. It didn't take long to think, as there are plenty of spots here. I simply decided to create it behind our farm. The first thing I needed to do was to outline the boundaries. After that, we could confidently start plowing the entire land. And as soon as I finished with that task, I began cultivating our new field. The final stage was sowing. As for the crop we would sow, I didn't think for long and immediately chose wheat. After all, in the near future, I envision having a chicken coop on our farm, and as you understand, we will need wheat for the chickens. So the choice of crop was predetermined. When I finished with the field, I decided to check on how things were going with the greenhouses. Cabbage seems to be growing normally. Each of our greenhouses has over 700 liters of cabbage. By the way, that's more than 4 pallets. I decided to check the current price of cabbage, so I decided to sell exactly 4 pallets. We load them onto the trailer and take them for sale. By the way, the tractor with the trailer for this job worked just perfectly. As I see it, this day was quite productive. But towards the end, I decided to make a little change to our farm. Specifically, to add an exit to our field. It had to be wide enough for the combine to pass through without any problems. In principle, that's what I did. Next, I decided to go to the store and think about what we could earn money on. And as I approached the store, I realized that I completely forgot about the grass. Just look, the grass that we mowed at the beginning has already grown completely. I forgot that on our map, it's an endless source of money as it's everywhere. So now we're renting a mower, with which we'll harvest grass for bales. I decided to mow the grass behind the farm. We lower the mowers and start working. I think about 10 rows will be enough for us. Fortunately, the mower's width is 10 meters, so the process won't take much time. Once I finished, I went to the store for equipment to create bales. I didn't skimp on money here and rented the most expensive one. Therefore, the process took a minimal amount of time. After all, I could bale the grass and press the bales. When I finished baling, I returned the rented equipment and went to sleep. Waking up the next day, I was ready to continue dealing with the bales. However, they hadn't fermented yet, so I decided to switch to our field. After all, weeds had already appeared on it, and we needed to get rid of them. Therefore, at the store, I decided to rent a sprayer and also bought some herbicides. Then we filled them up and headed to the field. Upon arrival, we began spraying. It's a good thing we have this small tractor. Thanks to it, we can easily get this job done. After finishing spraying the field, I parked the sprayer and decided to focus on selling lettuce. We already had 4 pallets pallets of lettuce gathered, so after loading them onto the trailer, I headed to the sales point. I earned a whopping $6,000 from it. On the way back, I decided to pick up the herbicides from the store so they wouldn't be sitting there. At this point, the grass in the bales hadn't turned into silage yet, so I decided to take a break. Waking up in the morning, we needed to gather the bales, so I hopped into our John Deere and went to the store. We needed to buy a bale collector. I opted for a small one to rent since we didn't have that many bales. Returning to the field, I started collecting. The process went quite well, and within a few minutes the trailer was full, fitting 8 bales at once. Selling the first batch, I earned $13,000, which was quite decent. After selling all the bales, our balance exceeded $135,000. Since there were no more bales left, I returned the bale collector to the store. And right there, I rented a tree planting unit and bought 20 seedlings for it. Then I went to plant them. I didn't want to plant too many trees since it's quite labor-intensive to harvest them. The next step for us is to deal with the animals. It's too early to get them, but it's just the right time to build pens for them. The first animals I would like to see on the farm will be sheep. After all, in the future, I would like to produce clothing. I've built an open sheep pen that can accommodate 100 sheep at once. I think that will be enough for starters. Next, we needed to acquire the necessary equipment for harvesting grass. Since our tractor isn't suitable for this task, as we can't attach a mower to the front, I went to the store to rent new equipment. For this job, I needed a small and practical tractor, so I decided to rent a John Deere. I think it will suit us perfectly. Write in the comments which tractor brands you would like to see. This is the equipment I chose for harvesting grass for our sheep. After getting all the equipment, the work went smoothly, although I would say the tractor is a bit weak for such equipment. So in the future, we'll have to upgrade and get something bigger. After filling the trailer with grass, I unloaded, of course, for our future sheep. As it turns out, they need very little grass, only 6,000 liters, which is even less than half of our trailer. When the mowing was done, we needed to bring water as well, but we couldn't get it from anywhere yet. So I decided to build a small pond where we could take water from. First, I made a small indentation in the ground, then filled the entire area with water, adding some decorations, and it's done. In the end, we got this wonderful pond, and I went to the store for a water tanker. Initially, I decided to rent one that would allow us to transport absolutely any liquids in the future. We pick it up and head to the pond. Carefully, we approach and fill the water. It's completely free, but that's why I built a pond instead of a water tower. Now we carefully pour the water for our sheep. Well, everything is ready to get the first sheep. Initially, I think 50 heads will be enough. Next, I would like to get chickens, but for that, we need to wait until the wheat grows. But we will tackle all of this work in the next video, so subscribe to the channel for now. Our goal is 1,000 subscribers, and that would be a huge motivation for me. Thank you all for watching. See you soon.